Hello and welcome to Lesson 10 of Lily de Silva. This will be quite a short clip because in this one we'll just be dealing with the grammar, the new grammar that's presented in Lesson 10, and I'll be dealing with the translation exercises in a separate video. Lesson 10 introduces what's known as the infinitive, and I will share my screen, my iPad screen with you to take you through it. Here we go for screen sharing. First we'll see what Lily de Silva says about it. On page 37 says the suffix tum is added to the root of the verb or the verbal base with or sometimes without the connecting vowel I to form the infinitive. So the example given of the, sorry, let me change to usual color. Patch becomes pachitum, to cook, and kad, kaditum, to eat. From gum, there's no connecting vowel I, and the M changes to an N before the following T. So we have, by regular formation here, gantum. Tatum is in fact Sanskrit root. Sta makes statum in Sanskrit and tatum in Pali. And I'll just ring that in red to highlight the fact that it is Sanskrit. There we are. And the root, the infinitive, is sometimes formed from the root and sometimes from the present stem. In Sanskrit, by the way, it's always formed from the root. So, oops, sorry. So the root pa becomes in Sanskrit and Pali patum, but it can become pivati. The present is pivati, so you can have in Pali a pivitum, so it's a tum formed from the present stem. Again, don't bother to learn this by heart. The most important thing is to recognize it as you go. So it's this tum ending. Whenever you see a tum end, not whenever, but most occasions when you see this tum ending, it's going to be what we call the infinitive. Now the infinitive, we call it the infinitive simply because it reflects what we call an infinitive usage in Latin, and so-called infinitive usage in England. I'm going to the monastery to hear the Dhamma, that's the infinitive of purpose. Or I want to hear the Dhamma, that is the infinitive after a verb like to want, to intend to, and so on. It's in Vedic, there was an old root, an old ending, not a root, an old word ending, tu, which fell into disuse in classical Sanskrit, but we see its remnants, and it makes a verbal noun. So gum would make gum tu, gun tu, which form you do not see in classical Sanskrit, and even in Vedic it's a little bit rare. But this noun, the gantu, means going as a noun. And the accusative, just add an M, so gantum. So what we now know simply as the tum ending of the infinitive, and that's the only place it's used in that, only way it's used now in classical Sanskrit, is in fact the old verbal noun accusative from Vedic. So we look at gantum ichhami, identical this bit in Sanskrit and Pali. Gantum, to go, ichhami, I want to go. When you look at this now, you can treat it as an infinitive. Ire volo, I want to go in Latin. Je veux aller, I want to go in French. I want to go in English. Just want followed by an infinitive. And you can treat it as an infinitive. But remember that it's actually an old verbal noun in Vedic. Literally, I want going. I want the act of going, gantum ichhami. There is another remnant from the old Vedic nominal form. It's the dative of purpose, which you will find has completely disappeared from classical Sanskrit. By classical, of course, I'm referring to the Panini and post-Panini Sanskrit. But it's there in Vedic, and it has survived in Pali. And it is a dative of this old verbal noun in tu. It's tave. It's a dative. It's a dative of purpose. So, for example, you can say, I wish to hear the Dhamma. That's Dhammam, in Pali now. Dhammam sotum. It would be shrotum in Sanskrit, but sotum, to hear. Oops, sorry. Dhammam sotum ichhami. Dhammam sotum ichhami. Ichhami, I wish. I want sotum, to hear the Dhamma. You couldn't use the sotave there, but you can use sotave with a purpose, an infinitive of purpose. I am going to the vihara to hear a Dhamma talk. So, Dhammam, again accusative, Dhammam sotave viharam gacchami. It would be equally correct, and actually a little bit more common as well, instead of sotave, just to put sotum. Dhammam sotum viharam gacchami. I'm going to the vihara to hear the Dhamma. But if it's a purpose, I'm going to the vihara in order to hear the Dhamma, then you can use this dative of purpose infinitive for the purpose of hearing. And you will come across it in your reading, so as well to learn it now. Dhammam sotum ichhami. You can't say Dhammam sotave ichhami, that would be wrong. So that's just Dhammam sotum ichhami. I wish to hear the Dhamma. But I'm going to the monastery in order to hear the Dhamma. You can say more commonly Dhammam sotum viharam gacchami, but you can also say, and it will sound very learned if you speak Pali like this, Dhammam sotave viharam gacchami. So we'll look briefly at the examples in sentence formation given on page 37 of Lily de Silva. And you'll see here, in these 4 sentences, illustrate basically the only uses of this infinitive that are commonly found. One of them is in sentence number 1. The wishes to. Kasiko ketam kasitum ichati. Kasitum ichati. He wishes to plough. Kasiko ketam kasitum ichati. The farmer wants to plough his field. And the other 3 sentences are all what we might call the dative of purpose, which is used in exactly the same way, happily, that we use it in modern English. The child climbs the tree to eat fruits, in other words, for the purpose of eating fruits. And this infinitive is used in exactly that same way in Pali. Darako palani kaditum rukam aruhati. And sentence number 3, men come to the monastery to ask questions. In other words, they come to the monastery for the purpose of, with the intention of asking questions of the recluses. So, manusa samanehi panhe puchitum, to ask questions of the recluses. Viharamagachanti. Number 4, again, the dative of purpose. Boys go to the sea with friends to play, for the purpose of playing. Kumara kilitum, to play. Kumara kilitum mittehi saha samudam gachanti. Kumara gachanti, the boys go. Samudam, accusative of motion, to the sea. Mittehi saha, with their friends. Kilitum, to play. And for those of you who are interested in a little bit more etymology, those of you who know Latin, by the way, will recognize this tum form. So long ago you learnt the principal parts. So amor, amare, amavi, amatum. So tum, you see, and dico, dicere, dixi, dictum. So this tum in Latin is a very precise reflection of what we see in the Pali, and it's derived from this ancient Proto-Indo-European verbal noun that came to be the infinitive. Incidentally, this is not the infinitive in Latin, it's the ere or are or ire form that's the infinitive. This is known as the supine in Latin. But anyway, this is not the place to go into that. Just those of you who did learn Latin, you will see it reflected there. Right, so that is it for the grammar section of lesson 10. Thank you.